Okay, I took a couple of days off and now I'm back on my bullshit. I'm a little concerned, to be honest. I'm excited for episode 2, but I'm concerned because, well, in the comment section, somebody kindly told me the meaning of this difficulty level text associated with the episodes. Episode 1 says difficulty level is standard. Episode 2 is about to be extreme, quote unquote. And somebody told me that that refers to how difficult it is to like understand what's going on in the episode, and I take that as to mean the difficulty at which it is to, I guess, construct like an understanding of the events in the episode without using magic. So that would mean in episode 1, even though we saw so much bullshit, so much closed room killing and like golden butterflies and Nazi in the end shooting literally at what she thought was the witch, and the bullet ended up going into her forehead and all that stuff. The difficulty of explaining all that without magic is standard. Like, I have no idea how to really do that. I guess maybe some of it is not like unexplainable. It's just that if we really go all out, just try to find a single possible way something could have happened without magic, then I might have been able to. But I just don't know how to approach any of it. And then episode 2, you're telling me, is about to be extreme? I'm just scratching my head over here. And I don't know if I'm like supposed to already have like an understanding of the events of episode 1 without magic, but I don't. And I don't know if I'm like supposed to go over it again or something and form like an understanding without magic before starting episode 2, but I think for the very least I'm gonna go into episode 2 first and see what that's like. Yeah, so we're gonna do that now. Damn, looking back at this message, it means quite a bit more than I guess you would have thought on first viewing. Okay, George-sama, please look. They're so cute. Look. Oh, what the? Shannon found a pair of hammerhead sharks swimming playfully in the tank, and looked as excited as a grade schooler seeing an aquarium for the first time. Holy. Yeah, they really are cute. Almost makes me want to eat them. I'd feel sorry for them. Did you know? I hear the Japanese are the only people in the world who go to aquariums and say how delicious everything look. What the? The Japanese people actually do that? That's... I guess that makes some amount of sense, because they probably, compared to the rest of the world, eat a lot of raw fish, so I'm guessing maybe their conception of like a delicious fish dish is closer to just a fish. Is that so? I'm sure even Americans and Italians would want to eat these. Yeah, but those clothes look good on you, really. Shannon clutched at her chest with both hands in embarrassment. She apparently felt like she was being made fun of for wearing these clothes she wasn't used to. Though George's face didn't show it, he'd actually said something so completely unexpected that it surprised even him. And he was as embarrassed as Shannon on the inside. However, when he saw how embarrassed Shannon was, he started to imagine he was teasing a girl he liked, and instead of embarrassment, a ticklish amusement welled up in him. Okay. No, he wasn't just imagining it, he really was teasing a girl he liked. What are you showing me? Why am I watching these two date? Before now, you wouldn't have expected to hear a line like that anywhere these days, not even the manga or something. In fact, if he'd seen another couple acting like this, his first instinct would be to start throwing rocks at them. Yeah, that's how I feel right now. But even if someone were to start throwing rocks at us now, I'm sure they'd be no different from confetti celebrating our relationship. No, I can't even remember those lonely days when I felt jealous of couples who were completely oblivious to their surroundings. Yeah, jealous is what I am now. To use an old-fashioned phrase, these really are rose-colored days I'm living in. I'm so entranced that I barely notice the massive tank in the world's largest aquarium anymore. Instead, all I see are the expressions flitting across Shannon's face as she plays with the fish. It's amazing, isn't it? It's my first time seeing a tank large enough for a whale to swim in. I heard this tank is the biggest selling point here, and that it's the biggest in the whole world. Is that so? That's amazing. It's really wonderful. It doesn't even look like a tank at all, more like they sliced off a part of the sea with a knife and brought it here. You're right, this really is a little sea. Despite its size, I hadn't thought of the tank as anything more than a tank. That's why I found her metaphor so interesting. No matter how far humans broaden their experiences, they always end up viewing the world through the lens of their own values. Maybe that's why it's so interesting to interact with people who have different worldviews. Sure is. I voiced my thoughts on this. She responded, "True, this may not be the real sea, but if those little guys swimming in there believe it's the sea, then that's what it is. Even though they're inside a finite tank. The sea is finite too. Well, then again, even if the sea were infinite, how much could we cover in our whole lives? I'm sure it'd be only a minuscule fraction of the sea." You're right, it's ironic, isn't it? Even though the world is so vast, most of us humans live our lives without ever leaving our own country. If the inhabitants of a place believe they're living in a complete world, then even the bottom of a narrow well can be a wonderful world, an entire ocean, at least to the frogs that live there. Shano, who spent her days as a servant on a small island 10 kilometers in circumference, while Lokenjima said that with a smile. Turn of the Golden Witch. What was the first episode called? I don't remember. Something Golden Witch as well. It's kind of funny to list these character names as if they're like actors. I guess they kind of are, huh? George, Jessica, Maria. What about the old people? Kinzo Kurase, Natsuki Hideyoshi. Rudolph Kilerosa. What about the servants? Nanjo, Genji, Shannon Kanon, Koda, Komasawa, and Beatrice. Cool. After we finished walking through the whole aquarium, we had a small late afternoon lunch at a restaurant with a nice view. The word buffet has the power to make any boy's heart leap. I was like that myself once. Who are you? With Shannon beside me. Okay, this buffet felt different. Buffet, right? That's how you're supposed to say it. Okay. I couldn't shamefully pile on only the things I liked. I was, how should I put it, worried about my appearance and choose some menus suited for a snob. Toast, salad, and coffee. You're eating that at the buffet? If I'd been by myself, I would have made a pile of oily stuff like yakisoba, mashed potatoes. What is that? Gratin? And so on. It's a French cooking method with food is topped with cheese. Okay, oh, okay. Oh, I don't know how to say that still. But the stuff that you're gonna pile on if you are alone is not that crazy either. It's just a bunch of carbs. Shannon, is that going to be enough for you? If it is, then I guess we men are animals with really bad fuel efficiency. That's not what I... In Shannon's tray, there was only tea and salad. Maybe the mere fact that I thought she was a whole plate short proved I was thinking with a man's stomach. What are we doing? Why are we still watching these two date? Actually, I should be asking you the same thing. Don't you think men should eat a little bit more than that? What? I imagine you normally eat much more for lunch, right? Oh right, dang. Come to think of it, you already know how much I eat normally because meals I've had at the head family household. Sorry. That's right. So I was worried you might have an upset stomach today. Shannon was kind enough to guess that I wasn't feeling well. Looks like my stupid attempt to show off made her worry. And apparently my stomach wasn't going to let me show off any longer. Hahaha, okay, I'll confess. I was just trying to look cool. I held back just because I was with a girl. I thought so, considering how much you eat during lunch at the family conferences. I thought this wasn't nearly enough. Please don't be so reserved and feel free to go choose another dish. It's not fair for only me to be embarrassed. What about you, Shannon? How will you be able to keep up with the Ushilumia family workload on such a sparse diet? I don't know. Why am I so frustrated watching these two being... Apparently I wasn't the only one showing off. When I realized that my embarrassment disappeared completely. Oh, so that's not enough for you either, is it? Yeah, I usually eat a bit more than this for lunch. Woman's stomach is made of magic, so this is enough. So we both finished. Let's not hold back anymore, shall we? I smiled to show that I wouldn't make fun of her anymore and rose from my seat. After finally coming to Okinawa, it'd be a waste if we didn't eat some bitter melon. Bitter melon? I'll go get some fried bitter melon or something. Okay, I'm gonna look that up. Okinawa. Bitter melon. Okay, interesting. Come on. Ah yes. To anyone watching us, we might seem like an incredibly charming and embarrassing couple. Are you not? But it's only after becoming a couple that you realize, to us this exchange of words is everything, our entire world. That's why no matter how much everyone else stares at us with blank expressions, we never notice. Indeed, at this age, I finally understand the feelings of couples who want to endlessly flirt without any regard for their surroundings. After I returned with a plate piled up with fried food, Shannon arrived with a pretty cake. While laughing at our fake stoicism, we resumed our lunch. Even though it's a restaurant with a view of the sea, it's so cloudy. Luckily, our window seats gave us a view of seaside scenery so grandiose that extended even beyond our field of vision. However, because of that, the cloudy sky, we're only seeing a fraction of its usual beauty. That's right, if it were clear, we'd undoubtedly see a deep blue sea. Yep. I bet you're already used to the sea around Lokenjima, but the deep blue of the sea here would surely have been a sight to see. It's a real shame. Oh, but no matter how blue the sea is at work, it might as well be great to me. But I'm not working today, so apparently Shannon was doing her best to say an embarrassing line, but I didn't let her get off easy. So close. If only you'd say, when watching the sea along with you, George-sama, it looks deep blue no matter how gray it is. Bro, I've given you full marks and a prize. I'm sorry. Wanna hear what the prize was? You better not, if you don't mind telling me. No, I won't tell you. Haha, okay. It's no fair. Fuck you guys. Sorry, I don't know. I don't know why I'm so... When I was in elementary school, I was always the kid who got bullied. When everyone teased me, I grew nervous and speechless, to the delight of the bullies. Back then I wondered why everyone teased me, but now teasing Shana like this, I understand why. It is so much fun. Is it the same? I can play with her emotions however I please, and I can have them all to myself. Okay. For now I can't think of any greater pleasure. That's why I have to go easy on her. It's not as though I want to make her feel embarrassed and upset. Okay, there's something about this. Yeah. This like relationship dynamics, I think I've seen a number of times in like earlier romance slash adjacent manga, and there's something icky about it. I don't know. So I decided to be nice and change the subject. Best not to be too obstinate. When you finish your lunch, do you want to take a walk on the beach? Maybe the clouds will clear up and we'll get a beautiful view of the sea. That's right. Want to go see it? Yeah, let's do it. But the cake really does look delicious. Maybe I'll go get one of those too. You mustn't. If you eat cake after eating so much, you'll get fat. It looks like Hideyoshi-sama's blood is pretty thick in you. George-sama, you'll get chubby if you don't take care. Shano, you won't stop liking me if I get fat, will you? After all, I wouldn't stop liking you if you got fat. I didn't mean it that way. If you don't take good care of your body, it'll be bad for your health. Mother warns me all the time too. I wonder if I'll have to take up Tai Chi Quan Chan or something like she does and get some exercise. Going on a diet, it's better to start by rethinking your eating habits rather than just exercising all the time. Apparently, the exercise only helps if you're eating well first. In other words, you're telling me to hold off on the cake, huh? Then I guess I'll just have to gaze at you while you stuff your cheeks with it, Shannon. Whole cake is probably too much. But maybe just half of one would be okay. Here, it's really delicious. Shannon cut her own cake and tried to move half to my dessert plate. I no doubt that she wanted to share the delicious cake's flavor with me. However, I meanly pulled my plate away from her. What the fuck are we doing? She blinked in surprise. She couldn't seem to figure out what I was refusing the cake. If I was refusing the cake or not. So I winked, opened my mouth and said, okay, dude. Giggle. So that's what you really want. Sheesh, you're such a pampered child, Joe-sama. Say with a partly embarrassed, partly exasperated face. Shano offered the cake to me with a fork. Chomp. It tasted like a cheap chocolate cake you might find anywhere, and yet it was exceptional. Because eating cake in such an embarrassing way, as if we were a couple of perfect fools, had been my dream for many years. It made this cake's flavor heavenly. If the earth is destined to end, I wouldn't have any regrets if it happened right now. It was such a moment of bliss. After that, we gathered shells, ran from waves, and enjoyed each other's company while walking along the beach. The beach. In the end, the clouds never parted. However, we both believed that the sea reflected in our eyes was a deep blue. Is that like a Pokemon thing? Somehow I'm so happy that it scares me. You do say that from time to time. What is it you're afraid of? I'm a servant of the Ushilimiya family. For someone like me to be walking like this with a member of the family, it just felt like it was too much for me. I'm also surprised. I didn't just meet you yesterday or today. Chan-chan, we've known each other for years now. However, we can only meet during these family meetings that only happen a few times a year. Back then, I couldn't even imagine having this sort of relationship where I could spend time with you like this. It was the same for you too, right? Yeah, I didn't imagine it. No, I mean, maybe I should call it a kind of a daydream. I did imagine it. I did think about what it'd be like being in a relationship with you, a boy who was always so gentlemanly and considerate, though it was only ever a fantastic daydream. I think this literally is like the otaku fantasy version of a relationship. Then we must have you believing heart. Huh? Your believing heart to thank for our relationship. Magic dwells in the power of love. So I'm sure that magic brought us together. You're right, I really do think it was magic. But you know, that's not actually true. As you kept looking more and more beautiful every year, you became a larger and larger presence in my mind too. If the same thing happened to you, then the fact that we're here today is simply an inevitable consequence, rather than something caused by magic or a miracle. No miracle did happen, George-sama. She stopped walking down the beach, gazing out beyond the sea. We're being a Beatrice now? A miracle? No, it was magic. It happened. I was bewildered by the slightly mysterious phrase, which I sometimes heard her use. Magic, you say? Yes, magic. I doubt you believe me if I explain, so I won't. But this bit of magic definitely had the power to grant the miracle that brought us together. Are you talking about some kind of ritual? What? Yeah, you might call it something like that. Except that it really was magic, not just some ritual. Hmm? Maybe it's all girls, not just Shannon, who tend to treat encounters as miracles or coincidences. For a man like me, encounter with a girl is 7% hard work and to try and make her like you, 20% courage, and 10% coincidence. The part that means everything to her is a much smaller factor in my mind. Maybe that way of thinking itself is calculating and typical of men. But if I said that out loud, it might dissolve all kinds of magic. To my mind, there were lots of coincidences, compromises, and expended effort on both sides before we gained the relationship we have today. At the culmination of all that, we get to spend this joyful time together. If she wants to call that magic, I've got no objections to her choice of words. So I'll stand up for that magic. You're right. If the same fate were repeated 100 times, maybe you and I could get into a relationship like this only one of those times. In the other instances, even though we'd be aware of each other, maybe you would only maintain a reserved relationship after all this time. Or maybe you would have died. From the perspective of those other me's and you's, you and I are undoubtedly in a miraculous relationship right now. That's not what I meant. It really was magic. No matter how often you tell men something like this, they'll never believe it. Kanun-kun didn't believe me at all either. I believe you. I'd hate for the magic to fade away because I didn't believe in it. Cool. George-sama, in a small voice, I apologize for saying something that trivialized her magic. Shannon seemed to be glad to hear me say that. After all, if two people believe in magic of love, it becomes eternal. Oh, that's right. I was wondering if you would be willing to agree to a little whim of mine. Yes? What is it? You call me George-sama, right? It's not that I dislike it, but would you consider not calling me that anymore? Of course, you have to keep up your appearances with the Ushilimiya family, so I wouldn't force you to do so during your everyday routine on Lokenjima. But when we're alone, I'd rather you didn't call me that. Yeah, let's make that a rule. A rule? What happened if I violated that rule? Maybe we should have some kind of punishment game if you break the rule. Yes, what should it be? You wanna hear? No, I don't want to hear. I have to think about what it should be. Okay, George-san. Yeah, I love the way that sounds. I'm so happy, Shannon. Also, have another name, it's Sayo. I see. The rules gotta be fair after all. I'll follow it too, and from now on I'll call you Sayo, okay? Sayo? Yes, I held her shoulders and drew her close. When I forcefully pulled her delicate body towards me, she dove into my chest like a doll. And I held her head in my arms. We both looked like at the horizon. What a deep blue sea. I'm so happy we got to look at the sea, just the two of us. Me too. I'm so glad to have a chance to look at this deep blue sea with you. As we gazed at the gray sea, is it blue or is it gray? And a light rain began to sprinkle down. We kept listening to each other's heartbeats. What the fuck? The sound of waves flows into my ears. No, it's the sound of an enraged sea. My body, bathed in painfully cold splashes, does not allow me to forget. It won't let me forget the memories of the day my old fate was broken and smashed. Once tomorrows were literally like looking into a mirror. All I ever saw there was the person I already was. Tomorrow is absolutely no different from today. That was my old fate. But then, for the first time, I saw a different fate beyond the mirror. The witch whispers to me. She tempts me to take a bite out of the fruit of knowledge. She torments me, saying I'll be furniture as long as I stay in God's paradise. So I decided to choose the path of knowing love and try to become a person. Those days were like sweet honey. At the time, I didn't realize that they'd be the start of a new kind of suffering. Oh. I've arrived at a small island on a motorboat I've only just learned how to use. No, this can hardly be called a small island. It's little more than a rock jutting out of the water. On this rock is a torii and a small shrine. Right. It was probably built to worship the guardian deity of Lokenjima. Even though I don't know exactly what it signifies, I know it has to be something holy. Even a place like this, I've got to take just one more look around. See if there's anyone who might get mad at me for coming. I see nothing but a stormy sea, Nijima looming in the distance, and the waves breaking against Lokenjima's steep cliffside. I ready myself. Timidly approach the small shrine and take the mirror that lies there as an offering. Huh? The mirror looks old, cloudy, and dirty. That will probably make any normal mirror seem horribly cheap. However, since the mirror has been placed in this small shrine, its appearance seemed to give some sort of divine quality to it. There's one thing I can tell. This is no simple mirror. It may seem like an old, battered mirror to a non-believer like myself, but it has a great significance. Is it really okay to break this after being captivated by honeyed words? Oh, what's going on? No, this isn't really a mirror. This is a life I couldn't escape until today, my fate. I'll break it, smash it, and seize the life that lies beyond this mirror. If I don't smash it, my life will be a pair of facing mirrors forever. Nothing will ever change in the slightest. The witch whispers to me. She tempts me to take a bite of the fruit of knowledge. Or maybe I've already tasted of that fruit. After all, I've already experienced those maddening emotions. Just as Adam and Eve felt compelled to pluck their fig leaves, I can no longer go on without breaking this mirror. I've struggled with conflicting emotions for many days before this moment. Inside my heart, the virtuous part of me kept on fighting the part that sides with the witch. And now here I am. Did the part of me that's here right now win or lose? There's only one thing I know. To obtain something, you must be ready to lose something. Cowards who don't risk anything, who never try to change anything, will never be given the key that opens the path to a new future. That key is already in my hands. And that key is to break this, to smash it. Is there any other effort I can make as furniture imprisoned in Lokenjima? No, this is the only way for me. Come, have courage. I'll free myself from being mere furniture. And by accepting a new kind of suffering, I'll become human. This is surely a small, yet large, trial I must impose on myself. Come on, smash it. I'll smash to pieces the eternally unchanging fate that imprisons me. I raise the mirror high. I think back on the days of conflict that came before, and finishing my reflections, in the blink of an eye, I throw it down. The thunder roars, crying out against me for my outrageous act. It truly is the hatred of angels trying to banish me from eternal paradise. I look down at the mirror tumbling in my feet, broken in two equal parts. After making sure I've accomplished my task, I screamed up at the raging skies. I've kept my promise, now it's your turn to keep yours, right? Thunder roars once more. I've already been banished from paradise, so I have to struggle on my own if I want to live. Damn. The witch told me that is the single element of this world. To lose it means losing the world. Like how a canteen with a hole in the bottom can't be filled, no matter how much water you pump into it. I've kept my promise, now it's your turn to keep yours. Please grant my wish. Beatrice-sama. Nice. Is it gonna be the same as last time or a different one? Looks the same so far. I think that was completely the same as last time. My mind wandered, back to the days when I could barely imagine the happiness I have now. I was a middle schooler at the time, a normal girl who thought about love as much as you expect of someone at that age. But in truth, it was wrong of me to have that dream. After all, I am furniture. Furniture is nothing more than a tool, not a human. As a person less than human, simply receiving an education was an enormous blessing. Seeing reality, even thinking about falling in love, was more than I deserved. Ushilmiya Family Conference was a customary event held every October. Relatives sometimes visited at other times. Of course, they didn't come just to drink tea. On this day, Ava's family was visiting the head family on Lokenjima. The 3 members of Cross family and the 3 members of Ava's family had gathered in the parlor and were having a friendly chat about recent events. Kenji had supposedly told Kinzo of Ava's family's arrival, but he still hadn't calmed down. He was probably immersed in his research and couldn't spare the time. This often happened, so the others waited patiently for their fickle father to arrive. Huh, how promising. Make sure you work hard under your father, building the skills you'll need if you want to lend him a hand soon. Thank you very much. I've learned countless precious things from the many experienced people father had introduced me to. And these were all things I could never have learned in school. When you're in school, it's not math and language you're learning. What they're really teaching you is the right outlook and attitude for learning more. Once you've got that base, you can finally start a long period of study that'll last your entire life. People who don't get this end up spending their whole lives as fools who never learn. Talking about me here. Just getting full marks in math and language won't do you any good at your company. Indeed, that's exactly right. Hideyoshi-san, your style of education never fails to impress. George isn't quite a full man yet. He'd better always keep that in mind and embrace his studies. Stop it, dear. George is always giving it his all, right? Truly admirable. I wish our Jessica would... I feel like I've heard all this before. Sheesh, are you still holding a grudge about that test score? I'm studying for a test the best I am. I can. At least don't say it here, pissing me off. Once people started praising George for his diligence, the conversation usually turned to Jessica, who hated studying. Jessica made an openly displeased face, as though she'd known this would happen. My, schoolwork aside, seems Jessica had better learn to choose her words a little more gracefully. How improper for the single daughter who bear the weight of the Ushilmiya family crest. Come now, she's quite appealing her own way, isn't she? Times change. The time when we had to act all modest to entertain men ended long ago. That's right. I knew you'd understand now, neighbor. Hee. Ha, my headache's truly trying today. Are you okay? Oh, Natsu, you're looking a bit pale. Thank you, I'm fine. Still, time really has flown. It feels like just yesterday when you would run around half naked by the beach and come back soaked. Wasn't your Jessica-chan the same? And now she's the lady who fusses over how to put on makeup. I see you focus on your eyebrows. You look really cute today. Thank you very much. No one noticed, so I was a bit unsure of myself. A full smile rose to Jessica's face as the result of her own studies were finally appreciated. Eva smiled back in the same way. Then she turned that smile towards Natsu. Come on, Natsu-ne-san. You must take notice of small changes in your own child, or Jessica-chan. You probably wanted your mother to notice first, didn't you? No problem. The person never notices anything. Jessica, I cannot condone you speaking of your mother in such a fashion. Apologize. Later I will speak to you at length about your language. Tch. If you don't want kids getting in your way, just say so. I'm gonna take a step outside. It's getting stuffy in here. Jessica is still at the age where tests and entrance exams are pretty nerve-wracking. Recently, she'd clashed often with her mother, who was enthusiastic about her education. Excuse me. Kya? Jessica, who was trying to leave the parlor in a bad mood, bumped into Shannon, who was pushing a serving cart filled with tea. Wait, who are we POVing as? Ah, Shannon, no need to worry about my tea. I'm just gonna go wander around the garden. Milady. Shannon, tea is getting cold. Serve it quickly. My apologies. Shannon hadn't actually done anything wrong. Nasi, who felt like something shameful to herself had been shown, lashed out at her emotionally. This was something that often happened in the Ushilumia family, but it seemed Shannon wasn't strong-willed enough to just accept it and move on. She shrank back and cowered while serving the tea. She had the unfortunate habit of making more mistakes when she cowered. Her pitiful appearance ruined the peaceful atmosphere that had existed a moment before. It wasn't really Shannon's fault, but she thought she might be the source and felt a pressure on her chest. Her shaking fingers made the utensils clang, and you couldn't have called it graceful, not even just to be polite. The more pitiful she appeared, the greater the silence grew. The more irritated Nussie looked, and the more Shannon cowered. Shannon's thin neck felt like it was being suffocated and choked by the reaper known as stress. At that time, George spoke brightly, blowing away the stiff atmosphere. This smells nice. What kind of black tea is it? This is... Nope, don't say it. I'll guess. It's a very distinctive smell, so I probably know it. Is it Earl Grey? I think it probably is. Yeah, I bet it's Earl Grey. When you get back to the kitchen, check the tin. Oh, George-kun, you know a lot about black tea, don't you? Earl Grey? One of the company presidents who looked after me was very knowledgeable about black tea. I managed to pick up a little while listening to him discuss the subject. Oh yeah, the president of Konogi Foods. Yep, that sort of trivia is that guy's specialty. The names of black teas often refer to the places they're made, right? So did this come from a place with that name? From what I've heard, there's a person called Earl Grey in England long ago and it was named after him. Furthermore, its distinctive smell doesn't come from tea leaves, but from a fruit called a bergamot, which is a relative of the mandarin orange. Is that so? I never knew that. Learning things that make the tea taste all the more delicious. Same thing goes for alcohol and cigarettes. Luxury items have a taste of romance. Knowing stuff like this deepens the taste. It's the same as reading the list of benefits on a medicine bottle. Somebody said that. I think it might have been George. Natsu-ne-san, you should try reading the explanation on your favorite headache medicine someday. Giggle giggle. Haha, that's a wonderful idea. Try it tonight. Yes, I'll do so. Shannon-chan, try opening that pot. You should find some dried bergamot mixed in with the tea leaves. Ah yes, it's in there. Something like dried orange peel is mixed in. Yes, that's probably a bergamot. The main ingredient in Earl Grey's scent. The scent is vivid, so you might expect the taste to be intense, but it's still gentle and easy to drink. If you make it with milk, the scent should become more mild, which works great. If there's anything left in the pot after you poured for everyone, you really should try drinking it with milk. Ah yes, thank you very much. George gave her a small wink. Shannon finally realized that George had kind-heartedly swept aside the tense atmosphere in the room. And he had done it for the sake of Shannon herself, a cowering servant. The Ushilomia family did not pamper their servants. Any display of awkwardness would be harshly punished. So it was rare for them to be given a helping hand like this. Thanks to George's kindness, Shannon managed to regain control of herself and finish serving tea without further incident. As long as she stayed calm, she could carry out her work elegantly and flawlessly. By the time the black tea was laid out on the table, its elegant scent filled the room. The atmosphere had completely returned to its former peaceful mood, and everyone praised George's knowledge. Shannon wanted to thank him for saving her, but it didn't look like she would get the chance. So she decided to at least thank him inside her heart, praying to God that George would hear it as she pushed the serving cart away. George Nissan always lends a helping hand at times like that, by changing the topic or something. Shannon and Jessica were in the rose garden. Jessica still hadn't returned to the parlor after getting into a fight with her mother and was nonchalantly killing time here. When I think back on it, I get the feeling this wasn't the first time this helped me like that. Whenever I made a careless mistake and George was around, I'm pretty sure he'd always naturally smooth things over and restore harmony. Maybe it wasn't something as direct as picking up a fork that had been dropped. That was his way of caring. Even servants have their pride. What is this about picking up a fork? I think Battler mentioned that twice. They want to fix their own mistake by themselves, and if a guest lends them a hand, they'll lose face. He's really good at reading between the lines when stuff like that happens. Well, I guess it's kind of like an art to him. The guy's more of a show-off than he looks. Ahaha. That's not true. I think he's a really wonderful person. Huh? Shannon? You haven't fallen in love with George Nissan, have you? For one, Shannon had disagreed with Jessica in a slightly forceful tone, with immediately called Jessica's attention. No, that's not it, I think. Come to think of it, I've hardly heard any stories about George Nissan in love. I think I remember hearing him say that family-oriented girls were his type, didn't I? Sweet, that fits you perfectly, Shannon. It does? How could I'm not suitable for such a thing? Not suitable? Like how you aren't? You've known him so long, you're practically a childhood friend. They say that when you start from a natural relationship where you don't think of the other as a member of the opposite sex, things start to move pretty fast once you finally start thinking about it. There's no doubt. Jessica loved teen magazines with this kind of story, and she was always getting excited talking about that kind of thing with her friends. She was very quick to pick up on love stories like this. So this wasn't the first time Shannon had been exposed to this kind of story. But this certainly was the first time she'd started thinking of George as a member of the opposite sex. She was furniture while George was an honored guest and a member of the Ushilmiya family. Until now, she'd assumed that even imagining any deeper relationship with him would be impermissible. She hadn't thought of it. Since it was someone else's problem, Jessica poked fun at it, seeming to enjoy herself. It was all Shannon could do to hide her blushing cheeks. If George were to appear at a time like that, she'd have no chance of keeping her cool. They saw George come out from the entrance hall of the mansion. It looked like she'd seen them as well. He headed over, waving his hand. Shannon had to frantically try and regain her ordinary composure before George reached them. Grandfather finally came down. Now they're having an adult discussion, so they chased me out. Haha, escaping then was the right choice. It'd be better to kiss the angel of death than to look at grandfather's face. You shouldn't speak that way, but you know, I think grandfather might think of us as angels of death. After all, we came here to talk about borrowing money for business reasons. That's right, this wasn't the customary annual October family conference. Ava's family had visited to apply for a business loan from the head family. Kinzo had vast resources, and he lent those out to his children. Of course, they didn't borrow money because they were living in poverty. How would they expand their business with the vast sums they wanted to borrow? How much interest would be attached, and how long would they have to repay it? This wasn't a sort of loan designed for the poor. It was a loan for those who were on the offensive. Kinzo strictly judged whether it would be worth lending out his fortune, and afterwards he strictly oversaw its use. So Lokenjima would sometimes play host to this spectacle, where relatives visited and described their business to Kinzo. To the parents, these meetings burdened them with the strain of having to move a vast amount of money. But to Jessica, who lived on the isolated island called Lokenjima, it was a precious opportunity to meet up with her cousins. So being able to talk with the occasional guests such as George like this immediately cured the bad mood she'd gotten from that fight with her mother. My family's totally stingy too. They probably got money to spare, so why not lend it out graciously? Dad and grandfather will probably get pig-headed and act all important. It's natural to be prudent when lending money. Of course, my father will use what he borrows to expand his business. He came with a plan that promises a solid probability of repayment. Everything else is left up to the presentation. But I really wish I could watch from the corner and learn. Mother chased me out. I'm a little let down. It seems that Master still tends to scold Cross-sama and Eva-sama as if they were kids. I'm sure she didn't want to let her son see that. As Shannon hung her head, she thought back on a scene familiar to those who worked in the mansion. Even Cross, who acted haughtily towards his siblings, was still treated like a child by Kinzo. Shannon herself had often seen Kinzo slap Cross and tell him to sit up straight. Damn, it was probably very embarrassing to be coerced like that at his age. Taking care to avoid being present at times like that was one of the important responsibilities held by the servants working there. However, the fact that Shannon had ended up witnessing such a scene meant that she'd messed up at least once in the past. Yes, I imagine so. Maybe figuring that out and staying away is part of a child's duty. Ah, that aside. The flowers in this garden are truly splendid this year. George stretched as he said that, and he smoothly changed the subject away from one that was a little gloomy. This time, Shannon noticed it too. This person, George, could sensitively figure out the situation and always change the subject to something harmonious out of kindness. It was so smooth that Shannon hadn't noticed it until today. Today, Shannon really had to admire the way George did that. Of the boys close to Shannon's age that she'd known, nearly all had been classmates during her period of mandatory education. But they had all been young, and none had possessed the composure George had. Mere moments ago, he'd been just another guest, but right now, she couldn't help but think of him as something more. However, such thoughts were mere distractions from her work as a servant. Shannon tried to chase them away with a small shake of her head. What's up? No, it's nothing. Should I make some tea? I will prepare some more of that Earl Grey. So you remember the name of that tea, I'm glad. Thank you for your concern back then. Shannon was finally able to put her gratitude into words. If you wrote it out, it wouldn't be very long, but Shannon had needed a little spark of courage to say it out loud. But George played dumb. What do you mean? I don't remember doing anything I should be thankful for. He seemed to be playing the gentleman in his own way, letting her know he wasn't doing it out of a desire for gratitude. George's response seemed to be more or less exactly what Jessica had predicted. She couldn't help but burst out laughing. See, isn't he a bit of a show-off at times like this? No, that's not. Jessica poked fun at Shannon as the latter remained silent, red-faced. George didn't know the details, but he naturally joined in, laughing in the same way. The three of them lazily walked around the garden, catching up on recent events. George, as the oldest cousin, talked about his life experiences. Jessica talked about recent life on Lokenjima, and Shannon talked about her recent work. They kept going on about these trivial things. Even when Shannon heard the other talk about deeply interesting things, she never felt any particular interest in the actual content of their stories. She was nothing more than a servant, and she had no intent of delving into her master's lives. She simply wanted them to enjoy their time speaking with her, and would only pretend to listen intently and nod at the right moments. But for some reason, the things George talked about today seemed to catch her interest powerfully. Even things she'd normally ignore felt like they contained a trace of kindness behind the words. For some reason, she wanted to know more things about George, no matter how trivial. So she stared fixedly at him. She thought that was as far as looks went. This Ushilamiya George was probably about average and didn't stick out in any particular way. but he was diligent, serious, and had a deep prudence, which allowed him to understand people's hearts and show concern. But she never noticed these things before now. She may not have met him many times, but she'd known his face for many years. Even so, she hadn't noticed once until now. Shannon, embarrassed by her own obliviousness, blushed. George, perhaps thinking that Shannon would listen intently to his stories, kept talking happily and at length about things he'd done and seen. But Jessica didn't miss that slight change in Shannon, so she decided she'd change the conversation to the topic she was sure Shannon was more interested in. Oh yeah, come to think of it, George Nissan, have you finally gotten a girlfriend or what? Where did that come from? Normally that reaction should have been answer enough, but for some reason, as she was now, Shannon wouldn't be able to understand it unless he said it clearly. George-sama is very nice, I'm sure he's very popular. Oh, could I, Shannon? Isn't cornering him like that actually pretty mean? I wasn't trying to be mean. Well, I'm flattered that you have mistaken impression of me, but unfortunately I still haven't had a relationship with any particular girl. After all, my looks are below average, as you can see, and I can't speak tactfully in a way that can entertain a girl. I don't think that's true, and I think a man's charm is decided by something that can't be measured by his appearance. That's why, I think you might be considered, a very attractive man, Joe-sama. Shannon was being uncharacteristically verbose. She hardly ever spoke at such length. George seemed fairly pleased to hear someone applaud his charm like this, but he was just a little surprised at this sudden high praise. Jessica, now sure her guess was spot on, appeared to be barely holding back laughter. Thank you, Shannon-chan. I hope I do bump into a girl who's generous enough to feel attracted to me before too long. Yes, I'm sure you'll run into one. I'm sure there's at least one. No, a lot of girls who will recognize your real charm. She probably wanted to say that there was at least one girl very close to him. Shannon avoided saying that much, drawing a final line as a servant. Really? I guess I'm kind of embarrassed. He had probably never been praised this heavily by a girl before. George's face turned just as bright red as Shannon's. As she watched the two of them, Jessica giggled sadistically. Well, I'm sure you'll eventually bump into a wonderful partner, George Nissan, but I doubt you'll be able to properly escort your partner as you are now, right? Huh? This looks like you're diligent, but you've completely abandoned your study of that. What? Sorry about that. I'll start studying that bit by bit. And how do you plan to do that all by yourself? Are you gonna watch some romance movies or something? Or are you gonna learn from Uncle Hideyoshi? Hehe. Well, you're acting pretty triumphant. Men are no match for girls when it comes to this sort of thing. Normally, when George and Jessica get together, their parents would say George is diligent and admirable and Jessica is lazy and rude. So it's probably unbearable fun for Jessica to have their roles finally reversed. George realized this as well, so he resigned himself to being the one getting teased for once. So George Nissan, as long as you're okay with it, why not practice a bit with Shannon? It'll be your job to keep Shannon entertained all day long on a date. What do you think? What are you, lady? When she heard Jessica's audacious plan, Shannon's face turned bright red with the poof. A donut of smoke started to rise from her head. That's a very tempting plan, but I wouldn't want to burden Shannon-chan. It'd just end up wasting one of her precious days off, wouldn't it? I'd be butting in on that sacred time that she should be spending alone with someone she really likes. I couldn't do something so boorish. I also, don't have a person I have feelings for or anything, so, there's no need to hold back for my sake. Shannon's blood had all rushed to her head, and it looked like even she didn't know what she was babbling about. Jessica, who knew how Shannon normally was, seemed to be finding this hilarious. She couldn't hide her cackling laughter anymore. Is that true? I can't believe a cute girl like you will be single, Xiang-chan. I'm a servant, so of course I don't have any relationship with boys. Which means that if Shannon ever wants a chance of getting herself with a wonderful guy, she needs to practice with relationships too, right? So you both want the same thing. Sweet, that'd be perfect. Jessica irresponsibly cheered the two of them on. But by now, even George was hanging his head and turning red. George, I've been calling to you for a while now. Didn't you hear me? When Eva appeared in what was already an embarrassing situation, both of them got even more flustered. Jessica watched and laughed loudly. Ah, mother. Sorry, I was so engrossed in your conversation. I didn't notice. Oh, Eva-sama. Yeah, my deepest apologies. It looks like you young kids are getting really fired up together. You're all about that age. Oh, I know how kids your age can talk about that sort of thing forever. Giggle, giggle. Ah, come on, you're still young yourself, Aunt Eva. Please tell us how you and Uncle Hideyoshi met. Oh my, there's no way I could say that. Giggle, giggle. You really are so young. So, what is it, mother? You called because you wanted something, right? Your father and the rest have finished talking. We're going to talk to grandfather about you, so come on. About me? What could that be? Same thing you were all talking about just now. You know what I mean, right? Oh, that isn't really something we need to talk to grandfather about, right? What's going on? Wait, George and Nisa, are you getting married? Congratulations. No, didn't I just say I didn't have a particular woman I was interested in? That isn't something to brag about, is it? Good grief. Eva smiled bitterly, looking a little exasperated. Oh, I get it. George and Nisa's one of those, right? And Omiyai. A marriage meeting. A marriage meeting, you say? Well, yeah. Haha. Surely as a man, George wanted to find a partner by himself and bring her home with him. So it seemed he thought it a bit pathetic to meet his partner for the first time in a marriage meeting arranged by his parents. Shouldn't marriage meetings be done at a more mature age? I still don't feel like I'd become a full-fledged adult. Of course, we have no desire to rush into immediate engagement or marriage, right? There's nothing wrong with deepening your friendship first, and then having her move to our family register after you've gotten older and settled down. Judging by Eva's forceful attitude and George's non-committal one, the others could catch a glimpse of the story behind this marriage meeting. They didn't know who George was supposed to be meeting, but it was surely someone who would profit Eva's family in a business sense. The very fact that they'd be satisfied with a mere engagement to deepen the relationship between the two families rather than an immediate marriage made it feel almost like a political maneuver. You see, marriage isn't something you should enter into only after you start liking someone. You marry first and then you adjust. If you marry based purely on emotions, you always end up regretting it. That's certainly nothing wrong with choosing a person with a secure background for a partner in life, and then developing your affection later. Aunt Eva, isn't that kind of rude to Uncle Hideyoshi? I love that man. I want to always be with him and to live my life by his side. Eva-sama, that's wonderful. Truly splendid. Thank you. But we built up those feelings while we were husband and wife, you see? And I believe that in the future we will be much closer than we are now. I think that's what's best for a married couple. Still, I don't think you can use that to argue that it's okay to marry someone you don't even like. It also doesn't mean that it's okay to marry anyone, as long as you like them. It only takes an instant to get married, but your life as a married couple will last a long time after that. So you should search with prudence and avoid making decisions based on momentary emotions. Don't you think a matter like this would be better handled by us, rather than a person lacking of life experience such as yourself? Damn. That may be true, but I'm proud of you, my only son. You've grown magnificently, and I'm sure you'll do us proud no matter where you go. And now that Battle Raccoon has left the family register, your father's only male grandchild carrying his blood. We must prudently choose a fitting partner for you. As everyone related to the Ushinomiya family knew, Eva adored George immensely. That didn't mean she had pampered him. She being strict with him and had raised him into a wonderful boy who wouldn't betray her expectations. That was why she treasured him so. Your partner certainly won't be selected based on your parents' profit and loss. I'll bring you a suitable and truly wonderful woman. At this moment, your immaturity might make this seem unpleasant to you. If you are going to take my advice on anything, listen to me now. Have I ever failed to act in your best interest? No, you haven't. That's enough for now, so let's go. We're keeping father waiting. Hurry to the mansion. Well, sorry you two. See you later. George bowed to the two of them, and after bowing once more to Shannon, dashed off to the mansion. I'll be going with him. Forgive me for interrupting such an entertaining conversation, Jessica-chan. Shannon-chan. No. Please don't worry about it. Come on, Shannon. Let's go. Yes. It's okay. I'm sure you'll meet someone wonderful soon too, Jessica-chan. A wonderful person suitable for you. So if he's at the same level as me, haha, you mean a guy with shit grades? That kinda pisses me off, haha. And of course you too, Shannon-chan. I'm sure that a wonderful man suitable for you will appear. Yes, thank you very much. As Ava giggled and smiled, she approached Shannon's ear with a hand over her mouth, as though she was trying to tell her a secret. Huh? I'm sure you'll find a perfect match for a lowly servant like yourself, damn. Have you forgotten to be grateful for your education? Know your place. That's not what I meant. George is the eldest grandson carrying father's blood. He's a person who may bear the burden of the Ushinomiya family someday in the future. To answer to that expectation, you're whispering a very long paragraph. Has studied tirelessly, entered a wonderful college, and is getting wonderful grades. Did you really think you could snatch George away, you uneducated, incompetent, unqualified, uncultured servant? Those malicious words all poured into Shannon's ear without spilling a drop. To Shannon, it was like cold water being poured in there. I didn't mean. This was all whispered to Shannon in secret, and with the same smile as before. Jessica, who could only see Ava's expression, didn't think it was anything other than Ava telling Shannon some embarrassing story about love. When their secret conversation ended, Ava patted Shannon's shoulders as though she was urging her on. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll find a perfect match for a partner, right? Giggle giggle. Okay, Jessica-chan, see you later. Yeah, see you later. Make sure you tell me about you and Uncle Hideyoshi next time. No way, ahaha. Ava laughed loudly and headed back to the entrance hall, behind Jessica, who was cheerfully waving her hand. Shannon reflected very, very deeply on those words of Ava's about knowing her place. It's time for me to take a serious look at how full of myself I've been acting. I forgot I'm furniture. Furniture isn't human, so I'm a being who must feel gratitude for even being treated like a human, and I am not permitted to wish for anything more. People sometimes develop affection for furniture they're used to using, but that is an emotion on the human side, and the furniture has no right to hope for such a thing. It's enough that furniture serves with simple honesty day after day. That feeling I got when talking to George-sama and Jessica-sama is the same as forbidden drug to me. In other words, it may be an emotion I must never experience. Shannon, you've had your head in clouds for some time now. Do you not feel well? No, my apologies. Nasi's words were right on the mark. Even Shannon couldn't believe she hadn't noticed Nasi until she had called. Normally it was essential that she focus on her cleaning at this time of day, but she spent all her time sighing and hardly making any progress. Even when there aren't any guests around, you must always be alert. Behavior like this is shameful for an Ushinomiya family servant. Yes, ma'am. I will take care from now on. Ahead, my husband will return very soon. Have you finished cleaning the study? Have you finished cleaning the staircase? My apologies, not yet. Yes, I know, so I had Luna do it. While you were plodding around cleaning the hallway, she finished cleaning the study and the staircase. That's because I wanted to clean it properly, so it took some time. Shannon was simple and honest, so she would always carry out her tasks seriously and properly without any omissions. So she was always slow with her work. In contrast, Lunan cleverly avoided doing extra work whenever it was possible. Do we see any extra characters? We don't. Any more tips? Nope. So she could complete her job with a result that looked almost the same to an outsider, but in a much shorter time. In other words, she was a shrewd employee. Compared to that, it's probably fair to say that Shannon wasn't very shrewd at all. Talking back to Nasiyu when Nasiyu was in a bad mood. Yeah, of course, there was nothing that Nasiyu couldn't stand more than a servant talking back. Her forehead creased, and she spoke sternly. And yet, her slow, admonishing style of speech was even more terrifying. It finally made Shannon realize she had said the wrong thing. Then perhaps you should aim to do a truly thorough cleaning. Shannon, I order you to clean the reception hall right now. It's an important hall, where several pictures treasured by the head are displayed, and where honored guests of the Ushilimian family are welcomed. Clean it thoroughly, so that not a speck of dust remains, and so that even you are satisfied. Of course, you'll finish before the day is out. Until you finish that and report to me, you will not be permitted any food or rest, understood? Yes, madam. That's good. Servants should endeavor to only use those words. The next time you talk back, your punishment will be even more severe, so with that in mind, engrave these words in your heart. Yes, madam. Thank you for your guidance. You're welcome. Damn. Behaving as though her headache was troubling her, Nasi headed off down to the corridor. When she couldn't see her anymore, Shannon hung her head and sighed. This was what happened when she had her head in the clouds. Even though I'm bad at everything I do, I should be able to at least carry out the cleaning as well as an average person can, right? It's because I can't even perform that very well that I'm crying so pathetically. But what's even more shameful is that not only have I been unable to perform a single bit of cleaning well, but just now when Nasi was scolding me, I imagined that person appearing and rescuing me. If only George-sama were here, would he casually step in and save me? Surely he'd show up cheerfully, intentionally acting like he didn't know what was going on, namely change the subject and make me forget I'd ever been rebuked by Nasi. I kept envisioning him suddenly appearing from the other side of the door or the other end of the hallway. Envisioned the kind of person that would be an appropriate partner for him in a marriage setting, and envisioned how unfitting I was for him. Eva clearly told me it's been repeating over and over in my dreams. You're still as clumsy as always, Nessan. The lady has been in a bad mood since this morning. That just now happened because you talked too much, when you should have hung your head in silence. Kanon-kun. Kanon was suddenly there. His footsteps were always quieter than cats, and he never left any trace of his presence. He probably could have stood there forever and she still wouldn't have noticed him. The expression on Kanon's face was one of hatred. He made that expression for Shannon, who didn't know how to do it herself. Madame and Lunong can fall into hell. That person knows where the madam checks and only cleans those areas. Her cleaning just now was like that. And all because I saw, she wasn't really cleaning, she's just the worst kind of parasite, leeching off your thorough cleaning. You mustn't use such dirty words. Dirty words pollute your clean soul, Kanon-kun. So at least don't use those words in front of me, okay? Kanon turned away as though sulking. It was a reaction that hid his true feelings, which was very like Kanon, but I was a little happy he was getting mad for my sake. Cleaning the reception hall will be tough. I will help. Thank you. But I was the one Madame ordered, so don't worry. Don't you also have your own work, Kanon-kun? It's a filthy job. My soul was polluted long ago. Kanon then hung his head and bit his lower lip. Just hearing you say you'll help is enough for me. If you don't go back to your own job, you'll be punished as well. That would make me sad. Shannon knew Kanon's character well. Sometimes he didn't think enough about himself. If I don't refuse forcefully, he'll help me even though it means neglecting his own job. Kanon was a little sad that his goodwill had been rejected, but he realized that what he was doing would only hurt her more in the end, and he gave a single small sigh. Understood. Do your best, Nissan. Yes, and I'm also partly to blame. You're not at fault at all, Nissan. No, I am. So go now. Kanon-kun's face showed that he still hadn't completely accepted it, but without being any more obstinate, he disappeared. Even though Kanon-kun came to give me words of comfort when I was down, even so I was dejected again because it wasn't him. That in itself was a sin. It went far beyond any dream the likes of me could be permitted to see. I don't know my place, Shannon, who had neglected the breakfast. Already felt her concentration begin to waver. If she didn't finish up cleaning the reception hall, she wouldn't receive Nasi's permission to eat. That cruel Nasi had truly told the kitchen something to that effect. I have to respectfully receive Madame's punishment. That's right. My position in the world is furniture, and I've been intoxicated by a dream that's beyond me. I finished cleaning the hallway and went to the reception hall. Maybe my hunger made my nose more sensitive. I could sense the delicious aroma wafting from the kitchen, even though it was far away and my empty stomach was encouraged even more. Until I finished up here, I wouldn't get any soup. I just had to resolve myself to doing it. Several portraits were hung in the reception hall. One of those portraits was thought to hold a special meaning amongst the servants. I think this was like hung in the past 2 years or something. Or even the past year. Before episode 1. So episode 2 was not that long ago, it seems. It was the portrait of the witch. That wasn't its true name, but everyone in the mansion called it that. The name of the woman with elegant blonde hair, drawn as the subject of that portrait, was Beatrice. It was whispered that she might be the former mistress of Kinzo the family had. Also that she was the great witch, who had given Kinzo the gold of the legend. The witch Beatrice, master of night on Wakenjima. She was gracious to those who respected her, but she would surely curse those who made light of her, using Shannon's character not to neglect rules and beliefs such as those. So she thought of the portrait of her own master as that person herself, and always treated it carefully, treasuring it. It had become part of her daily routine to tell the witch, who only existed inside the portrait, the secrets of her heart. She was furniture. Furniture doesn't complain, cannot complain. So she had no right to speak her mind about her difficult days. She had no right to open her mouth and say those words. So she at least spoke her mind inside her heart. She spoke her mind inside her heart, using words she couldn't say aloud, and protested to the formless witch. Of course, the witch didn't answer. She didn't console, and she didn't laugh at all. Shannon could only interpret the silence as she liked, as though the witch was responding agreeably. Beatrice-sama, please listen to the story of my worthless self. As Shannon wiped the dust from the witch portrait, she spoke that inside her heart. I certainly am incompetent and uncultured, just as Eva-sama said. I'm not a person, so maybe I have no right to love. But in that case, why was I given a heart that can know love? At that point, Shannon held back her tears for a moment. The sound of the rain, which had started falling, along with the chill air in the reception hall, made her feel as though Her shabbiness had increased on another level. Real furniture doesn't have anything like a heart, so they don't have to love people, right? So they don't feel pain. If I'm just another piece of furniture, why do I have a heart? If it's going to be this painful and this harsh, I wish I never given a heart like this. Oh, I see. So a heart was given to furniture. It would seem that even that man is capable of some quite amusing things. Every now and then. What man? Cackle, cackle. What? To which I never answered or laughed. Answered and laughed. Was it my imagination? Was I hearing things? No, that's wrong. After all, the next word became a voice. Next words became a voice, and I could hear them, not with my heart but with my ears. Humans have continually searched for the elements that make up the world since before the modern era. It's said that in ancient times the Greeks tried to explain the world with the four elements of wind, fire, water, and earth. After that, over several millennia, humans added several elements to those four, trying to explain the world. Several interpretations such as 5 elements, the 6 elements, the 7 elements, the 8 elements, and the 12 elements. But they were never able to describe the one sole truth that exists, the single element. However, a single man appeared by the guidance of a star and finally explained the single element that makes up the world. Know what it is? Oh, what? Who? Shannon fearfully turned around. What? She just kind of appeared like that? Right there, she existed. Not as an illusion, but as a reality. The contrast made by the lightning made it clear that this was no mere daydream. It's love. Cackle. The witch of the portrait elegantly held a golden pipe to her mouth and giggled. She laughed at the ignorance that caused humankind's thoughts to stray far from the most simple answer. That man explained everything in the world with love. That's the single element. Talking about Jesus Christ or something? That man fully explained how the world was constructed with the smallest possible number. How simple and clear, how splendid, exhilarating, pleasant and thrilling. The year that man was finally born is called the start of the modern era. Cackle, cackle. Shannon lost any words to speak. She thought that when first meeting an unknown guest, her first words should be to ask that person's name. But without saying anything, Shannon knew this person's name, so she refrained. No, surely it would be the greatest disrespect for someone who lived or worked on this island to ask this woman her name. After all, she was the other master of this island besides Kinzo. Beatrice-sama. Indeed, I am Beatrice. Even after 1,000 years, I see that people still always give me that look when we first meet. Cackle. The witch giggled at how Shannon's reaction didn't betray her expectations. Shannon realized that she had met with the being that mustn't be met with, and she took a step backwards. That's where the wall and the portrait were, so even as she gazed at the witch's portrait was touching her back. The source of your trouble is love. Love, the single element that makes up this world. In other words, it's everything in this world. When it is lacking, then your world is lacking too. It is no different from scooping water into a canteen with a hole in it. Even if you scoop and scoop, that eternal desert of the heart never fills. It is the original sin that humans are founded upon and everything is made of. Understand? When Adam and Eve put the fruit of knowledge to their lips, love is what they learned of. Because of that, humans were chased out of the garden and became fully human, which means that knowing love and suffering is what makes one human. You kind-hearted child, you ought to be praised. Now that you have gained this knowledge, you're no longer furniture. You're now human. I recognize that with all the authority of my name. Is it hard for a common person to understand? Very well then. Cackle, cackle, forgive me. It's been a long time since I've spoken with a human. Allow me to apologize for my talkativeness. Without waiting for a reply from Shannon, Beatrice laughed pleasantly for a while. Perhaps this isn't much of a by way of an apology, but I would be willing to grant that wish of yours with my power, if you so desire. Huh? The meaning of those words surprised Shannon. You are more than a witch's sudden appearance. I'm offering to bring you and the one you love together. Normally, I would demand something of equal value in return. However, I'm in a good mood. You have never failed to pay your respect to me in the past. That's something worth rewarding. Is that true? Normally, Shannon would have been shocked and struck dumb by this seemingly impossible guest. However, almost as though she was already under the witch spell, Shannon responded. With my magic, it will be no trouble at all to arrange for you to be joined with the one you love. Yes, of course. Shannon almost said that without thinking, but held back with her last bit of common sense. After all, this is a witch, a sinister being. The witch Beatrice clearly trying to slip in through the cracks in my heart and take me prisoner. That sort of temptation, which is so many fairy tale picture books warned me about when I was young, is right in front of me now. Fear is also a form of respect. It may be pleasant for me, but we will make no progress this way. It may not differ much from the image of a detestable witch that you hold in your mind. However, I do bestow my favor upon those who respect me. Aren't humans the same? Well, I doubt any human would bestow a favor upon one with such a hostile attitude. My apologies, I didn't mean. Shannon eventually realized how rude she was acting towards the guest. And she finally digested the words that had been spoken to her a short while ago. You're no longer furniture, now you're human. As she reflected upon those words, Shannon felt as though the witch understood all her worries. What was that just now about a reward? I say that I can arrange for you to be joined with the man who has captured your heart. Think of it as a sign of my gratitude for your diligence in polishing my portrait day after day. Calm yourself, ask for nothing in return. I'm generous. However, though I ask for nothing in return, I do have a request. Look, here it comes. Part of Shannon's heart sent her a warning. This is what all those scary picture books she read when she was little had warned her about. Do you know the small torii and shrine that have been constructed on the ocean very near this island, which you can see when you gaze at the cliffs? Shannon immediately remembered it. When you reached Lokenzima by boat, there was a torii and a shrine on a reef that was too small to be called even an islet. I'm pretty sure Kumasawa-san told me its history, but I can't remember it well. A traveling shugenja, a kind of holy man. Shugenja. Okay. Shugenja, a kind of holy man, had built it or prayed there or something. Yes, I know about it. Why do you bring it up? I will now explain everything, including the very basics, to one ignorant of demons. Simply put, it's causing me trouble. The truth is, there's a mirror kept inside that shrine. I want you to break it. It was quite a suspicious request. Shannon didn't know the details. Anything stored inside a shrine should have to be something sacred. And she wants me to break it? Why would a witch ask a human for help, instead of doing it herself? There was no need for Shannon to speak her thoughts aloud. Beatrice responded to Shannon's reasonable doubt before Shannon could give her answer. The magical power of that mirror opposes my own. I cannot explain it well with human words. For example, let us speak for the differences between utensils. The mirror is a fork and my power is soup. You cannot drink soup with a fork, correct? If only the resistance of that mirror were gone, I could produce a spoon, ideal for drinking soup. After that, I could drink soup as I pleased, and even dig my way out of a rocky prison. I could even gouge someone's eyes out with it. Was that not the phrase? I've seen this about spoons too in episode 1, but I can't remember who said it. Cackle cackle. I don't know what you're talking about. If my poor education is to blame, I apologize. It comes down to this. If you take action and break that annoying mirror for me, I shall grant your wish as a reward. I'm in quite a good mood today. You may even change your wish and receive all the gold I bestow upon Kinzo if you so desire. Cackle cackle. I refuse. What? When she heard Shannon's words, Beatrice realized for the first time that her expectations had been betrayed. If you have reason, tell me. If there had been some misunderstanding, I shall resolve it. I don't really understand the reason, but up until now, the island have been at peace and nothing bad has happened. So even if I don't break the mirror, the peace that has existed until today should continue into the future. Yes, you're quite right. It's just as you say. If you don't break the mirror, the same unbreakable days that have passed until now will continue into tomorrow and the next day. Why don't I give you an absolute guarantee? I shall stake my name, Beatrice, on it. The unbreakable days before this time will continue into tomorrow and the next day, and for eternity in perpetuity. Shannon felt overwhelmed by an eerie illusion. The mirror probably existed for the purpose of restraining the witch. So if Shannon broke it, the person who stood to gain was supposedly the witch herself. And yet, Shannon felt somehow that she had to do it for her own sake. It felt like some promise had been switched around. I will do nothing but grant you a chance to bring your feelings to fruition. It's up to you to decide whether you break it or not. If you break it, I shall grant your wish. If you don't, the tomorrows that came before today will continue for all eternity. Your wish will not be granted for all time. You understand? You see what I mean? Cackle cackle. The witch was speaking. She was pressing Shannon, saying she must break the mirror if she ever wanted to be united with George. It was a declaration that Shannon's feelings would never be brought to fruition unless she broke it. Please, stop it. I don't want to hear something like that. It was never my goal to cause you pain. Oh well. When love leads to madness, that is when we see true charm of humanity. Enjoy the emotion to your heart's content. However, if you wish to borrow my power, feel free to break that mirror at any time, and then you may yell my name and awaken me. I will certainly keep my promise. This way, you should have no complaints, right? I won't force you to decide right now. Easy, is it not? Was it really such an easy thing to do? No, it certainly wasn't. The Shannon, who was burning with infatuation and worried by love, being tempted constantly and eternally with a way out, was truly a cruel trial. I won't set a time limit on that promise, but there is a time limit on the magic that can grant you a wish. That limit is not of my making. The one you love will decide it himself. See my meaning? No, I don't understand. When the one you care for finds a partner to whom he ought to pledge his love, that limit will be reached. I may be a witch, but I am no demon. I possess no magic to tear apart a pair of those who love each other. Cackle cackle. The one you love will soon be attending a marriage meeting, yes? You may have stronger feelings for that man than anyone else in the world, however that doesn't mean you're the most suitable partner for him, yes? Does it? I know with whom he will be having his marriage meeting. That girl is the most suitable for Ushlomi George in the entire world. She came from a good school, achieved good grades, and possessed both composure and thoughtfulness. She's more beautiful than you, wiser than you, more suitable than you. How could an ignorant, incompetent, uncultured girl like you be suitable? You know better than anyone. There are none less suitable than you. Even imagining that you and Ushlomi George could be joined is sinful and foolish. Foolish, know your place. Have you forgotten to be grateful for your education? Know your place. Is this a dream? George is the eldest grandson carrying father's blood. He's the person who may bear the burden of the Ushlomi family someday in the future. To answer to that expectation, he has studied tirelessly, entered a wonderful college, and is getting wonderful grades. Did you really think you could snatch George away, you uneducated, incompetent, unqualified, uncultured servant? Giggle giggle, cackle cackle. Ah. Stop it! Don't bully Shannon. Who the hell are you? At that time, as Shannon held her head, trying to protect her heart from the blade of Beatrice's words, Shannon ran in front of her. Shannon didn't care who this woman was. If this was an enemy tormenting Shannon, whom he loved and respected as a sister, nothing else mattered. Shannon-kun, stay back. This person is... It seemed Shannon also realized that the being standing before him was the witch of the portrait, and also that she was something to be feared. I simply wished to give Shannon a chance to claim her reward, but it seemed I said too much and ended up hurting her. I must apologize for that. But I shall leave behind that promise as a reward to you. If you need my power, call me at any time. I've already told you how. Well then, let us call it a night. Hostile gazes may be pleasant, but they damage your beauty, yes? Cackle cackle. Disappear, you don't know who you are. I don't know who you are, but you're threatening Shannon. Don't ever show yourself again. Shannon's words seemed to deeply annoy the witch. Watch your language, lowborn. I may be gracious to those who respect me, but I'm brutal to those who don't. While she still smiled, the witch's face began to twist itself. Then, an oppressive feeling that couldn't be noticed with any of the five senses gradually filled the room. Even though they couldn't understand it, they immediately realized it was something terrifying. When you swim in the ocean and something large passes by in the water beneath you, you want to escape to land even before you learn what it is. That's exactly what this was like. Please stop, Beatrice-sama. Shannon-kun is still a child. I apologize for his language. Shannon placed his body between the witch and Shannon. There was tense sweat on his forehead. At that time, the witch certainly held Shannon's fate in the palm of her hand. She didn't even need to lift a finger. She held a grasp on his fate so tight that a single twist of her smile could easily crush it. Shannon understood that as well, so he started sweating. His knees felt weak. However, Beatrice abruptly released that feeling of tension and laughed. Very well, if you ask, I'll forgive you just this once. Shannon, is it? In defense to her, I shall forgive you tonight and send you off. You ought to thank me. Well then, let us call it a night. In parting, I shall leave you with a small souvenir. Hold out the palm with your left hand, you two. When Beatrice grinned broadly and snapped her fingers, their left hands stretched out in front of them against their will, and their palms opened. It was a strange sensation, as though only their left hands now belonged to someone else. It felt like only their left hands had become puppets, which were being pulled by strings hanging down from the ceiling. What are you trying to do? Shannon resisted, but he couldn't retract his hand of his own free will. Don't struggle, it'll be over soon. And Beatrice held her pipes aloft. The gold-colored, sparkling dust came out of the smoke and hovered in the air. The sparkle eventually became several gold butterflies. The beautiful butterflies danced freely throughout the reception hall, forming a fantastical and beautiful world. What? And two of those butterflies alighted on the palms of Shannon and Shannon's hands. Ouch! There was sharp pain, as though they had been burned, and the two of them tried to examine their palms, the hold on their bodies, which had been there a second ago, had gone without a trace. A mark? What is? There was now a tiny burn mark on the palm of their hand. It was shaped like a butterfly. What is this supposed to be? Apparently Kano had the same mark on his hand. He stared at the witch hatefully. A simple greeting. I have no hidden motive. It's nothing more than a bruise, so it will heal in just a few days. There's not even any need to care for it. Made that mark so that tomorrow you will not forget that I truly was here and that I made a promise with you. What? An encounter with me can be quite shocking. Sometimes when the next morning comes, people try to think of such an encounter as a dream or an illusion. Oh, I see. You ought to consider this slowly and carefully, Shannon. And you should probably take a good rest. Look at my mark tomorrow morning, and try considering it again. I shall not coerce you in any way. You should freely decide your future by your own will. Still, to think that one could obtain the object of their desire for such a small price. Surely this will annoy to no end the great artist who write plays about blighted love. Cackle cackle. Well then, let us meet again when the chance arises. How entertaining it is to have a conversation again after so much time. Goodbye, furniture. Beatrice's body crumbled like smoke and blew away. It was golden smoke, no, a cloud of golden butterflies. They scattered in all directions inside the reception hall, leaving a golden splash before disappearing into thin air. After that, only the cold silence was left. It was so silent, it made both of them think they might have been daydreaming until just a moment ago, which was why the witch had left those marks. She had done so to make it impossible for them to think of this as a daydream. And Shannon and Connor remembered the butterfly bruises on their hands and the pain they'd felt when they'd been made. They kept standing still, stunned, and from that moment on, Shannon was tormented by days of suffering and conflict. Oh, it's not over yet? What? What do you mean, separate rooms? So wait, you and George Nissan stayed in different rooms on purpose? Yes, is it really so strange? Jessica's cheeks have been stuffed with a chocolate-coated Shinsuko biscuit that Shannon had brought as a present from Okinawa. And it all came flying out at Shannon when Jessica cried out, "Shannon, why did you even go on a trip to Okinawa? You were even alone with George Nissan." Well, he said there was a huge aquarium in Okinawa and invited me to go. And I like fish and stuff. No, that's not the point. We're talking about a healthy guy and a girl going on an overnight trip, right? And you're saying there weren't even any hugs and kisses? And seriously, what's up with the guy and girl staying in different rooms? As for kisses, no comment. Ah, but we did hug. George-san's chest was warm. That's not the point. Ah, jeez. Why do couples like this exist? Ah, jeez. I can't take it anymore. From Shannon's point of view, it was an incredibly happy trip for various reasons, but it looked like Jessica found the pace to be pretty irritating. For a while, Jessica chewed her present, complaining about romance and pretending to faint in agony on her bed. Shannon and George had chosen to go to Okinawa because there was a huge aquarium there. They did this because an aquarium had given them the opportunity to start going out. What? Since their relationship had started at an aquarium, having their first overnight trip also be to an aquarium must have held some commemorative value. It's like a huge commemorative turning point. In your first overnight trip, how could you not make all kinds of progress there? But instead, you both got separate rooms, a couple taking 2 single rooms. Ah, geez, seriously, what's wrong with you? But we're both unmarried. George-san says showing restraint is good manners for a couple. Like I said, the whole point of this overnight trip was so you could overcome that stage, right? Should be way beyond just kissing and hugging by now. Lady, I don't know what you mean by that, but George-san was a real gentleman with me until the end. I mean, I also wondered if those things would happen, you know, but even though we're going out, I mean, it's not like we're married or anything. These things you seem to be expecting should only be done after making a vow before God, and Shannon's face got bright red. She made a circle with both hands, restlessly intertwining. Intertwining? I don't know. Separating and making heart marks with them. Apparently, the dramatic progress Jessica had looked forward to hadn't happened, but it seemed to have been a very important experience for Shannon in her own way. In the end, whether Jessica was jealous of Shannon or made fun of her, it didn't change the fact that Shannon had a huge lead on her. I want a boyfriend too. I can't believe you got ahead of me. Even though we promised that we'd find boyfriend at the same time you beat me. You're a wonderful person, lady. So I'm sure you'll find someone wonderful much quicker than me. Don't try to console me. Shannon, you traitor. Get out. Shut up. Cough, 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 cough. Jessica threw several cushions at her. But midway, she had an asthma attack and started to choke pretty badly. Shannon hurriedly ran over to a nearby side table and started searching around on top of it. A cute basket was placed there. Inside of it was Jessica's bronchodilator. I still don't know how to pronounce that. Shannon picked it up and handed it over to Jessica. Jessica's asthma attacks always came suddenly. Because of that, she always needed to carry this medicine around. She breathed into the medicine and after a while managed to overcome her choking as her asthma finally settled down. Shannon thought this is a good chance to leave and try to exit the room after bowing courteously. As she did, one more small cushion came flying and hit Shannon on the head. She noticed that Jessica was on the verge of crying, half her face burying her last and favorite cushion. Her face was red and meek. Milady? Shannon, be honest with me. Is my hairdo and stuff weird? What? What are you saying? I think your hair is very beautiful. Then are my eyes strange, or maybe my nose? Or is it the way I talk after all? Is that why I can't find a boyfriend? Of course not, milady. You're wonderful enough as you are. And I think your charm will keep on increasing more and more from now on. But I'm the only one who can't find a boyfriend. Sako and Hina managed to get boyfriends, but only I can't. It's because I don't have any charm after all. You know, everyone says they'll bring their boyfriends to the cultural festival, and I was so sure I'd have a boyfriend before then, so I started bragging. There's no way I'll get a boyfriend. I'm the only one. Before she realized that Jessica was shedding huge tears, Jessica didn't really feel like crying, and of course, she felt like supporting Shannon's progress in love as a friend. However, as she had cheered Shannon on, her true feeling had suddenly gotten mixed in, and she couldn't help but shed tears. Shannon understood Jessica's innocent and easily injured heart. The rough style of speech Jessica usually used was all just an attempt to protect that fragile heart. As a daughter and successor to the Ushinomiya family, and as a girl isolated on Rokkenjima, the only person she could expose her true feeling to was Shannon. Shannon understood that, so she strongly regretted acting smug, even if it was only a little. Sorry, I'm so weird crying like this. Sorry, Sniffle. You're a wonderful person, lady. There's no way you won't find a wonderful man. Shannon, it's about time, right? If you don't go quickly, Genji-san and Mom will get mad. I'm just fine, so hurry up. Yeah, sorry for crying like this. I'm such a moron. Jessica faced away, acting as though she didn't really want to trouble Shannon, waving her hands as though chasing Shannon away. Shannon took that as a sign that Jessica didn't want to be bothered anymore, bowed her head, and left the room. When Shannon's footsteps disappeared into the distance, Jessica lay down on her bed, still hugging a cushion. Her expression was still a little meek, with tears in her eyes, but for the first time in a long time, she had a very, very quiet and honest conversation with her heart. I also want to fall in love. As Shannon happily watered the flower beds in the garden, she sensed someone's presence. She turned around, thinking that if one of the family had come to visit, she must greet them. But what she saw was that witch. Beatrice-sama. been quite some time. How are you? Has your relationship with the one you love progressed since last we met? Miss Beatrice sat on the rose arch. She happily blew on her pipe. Sitting in a place like that would crush the roses, and it might have been dangerous if the arch fell over, but this was a witch after all. Showing concern for her safety was probably a waste of time. Yes, thanks to you it's going smoothly. Naturally, the effects of my magic are immediate. Perhaps you feel your meeting was predetermined fate. However, that is a mistake. Don't even think fate has anything to do with it. I understand that. The witch was calling attention to something. Two things, actually. First, that Shannon's relationship with George was a fate. That'd be absolutely impossible under normal circumstances. Second, that the power of the witch was great enough to overturn that fate. Shannon had just gotten wrapped up in those sweet days, and had started believing the illusion that all fate revolved around her. But she remembered the witch's words. Originally, her relationship with George had been impossible. No, it might be impossible in the future as well. Kako, sorry, please forgive me. It's just like doctors. You cling to them when you're worried about your health, but after you're healed, you forget even to thank them. I've never been thanked as a witch, so I couldn't help acting a little rudely. Forgive me. The gratitude I feel has never slipped my mind. It's thanks to your power that I was able to achieve happiness, Beatrice-sama. Without that power, the fate that brought me and George-sama together would never have happened. I've never forgotten that. Sorry, it's not like I came here to bully you. Being rude is just part of my personality, so do forgive me. More importantly, I heard. So you went on a trip alone with him. I imagine it must have been quite fun. Yes, it was very fun. Shannon's face suddenly lit up. The witch laughed lightly, as though amused by the speed of that transformation. Already the one you care for is more than the object of one-sided love. You're a pair of lovers now. When two people are filled with love, nothing else is needed to establish a complete world. Perhaps you could call that a wonderful ideal world. What does that mean? Hey, even witches would be jealous. Beatrice laughed pleasantly. A smile made her look as though she blessed the lovers' rendezvous from the bottom of her heart, without a trace of malice. After that day, Beatrice had shown herself before Shannon every once in a while. Even now, Shannon thought of her as an unsettling being. However, she was also indebted to this person for the magic that led to her current relationship with George. So Shannon tried with all her might not to act surprised or scared. That's right. Beatrice-sama. I bought some sweets as souvenir from a trip. Would you like to try some too? Oh? A souvenir for a witch? It seemed that even a witch who boasted for living 1,000 years had imagined that she received a souvenir from a sweet lover's trip. When she saw that surprised expression, Shannon thought of this witch as a friend for the first time. Damn, how sweet, what the fuck? Oh, an Eastern cookie made from the wheat flour and lard. To wrap that in Western chocolate is truly a blending of the Japanese and Western styles, a Silk Road of sweets. What? What's so funny? Nothing. My apologies. The witch, who surely held a terrifying power, was chomping down on sweets one after another, making a sound like a squirrel stuffing walnuts into its mouth. After a while, Shannon couldn't conceal her laughter. A good meal. I should serve you some Dos Vita from Nero one of these days. I don't know what that is. Roses are the symbol of eternal love. I believe a rose... Okay, I need to look that up. It just means sweet? What is that? Meaning? It's an Italian phrase that literally means the sweet life or the good life, representing lifestyle focused on pleasure, luxury, and daily enjoyment. Okay. If it's like also a name for some sweets, then I wasn't able to find it. Will be appropriate for you now. The witch was in great mood, fully enjoying modern candy. I'm here, I truly am grateful. I believe you've done more than enough for me already, so I'm returning this. The thing Shannon had softly set on the table was a gold-colored butterfly brooch. There's no need to return it. If you continue holding that, your relationship will remain firm in perpetuity. Maybe it was the power of magic that brought us together, but I think only the two of us working together can turn that into something that lasts forever. Love and roses are the same. Too much fertilizer causes the root to rot. Sunflowers cannot be raised without hard work. In that case, do as you wish. You may wear it or keep it in a box. That is my goodwill, given to you. If you return it to me, it won't please me at all. My apologies. That's not what I... Cackle cackle. No harms have been done. The brooch is already yours. If you treasure that proof of our friendship, it will indeed bring me some comfort. You may hold on to it and gain its benefits, or you may keep it in a box. If you wish, you may even give it to another who is worrying about love. Or you could simply treasure it. Of course, it would pain my heart if you wasted it. According to Beatrice, she had appeared several times in the past in response to a person's summons to give them some tool imbued with magical power. However, when most people use that power to resolve their worries, they quickly grew unsettled by it, forgot their former gratitude, and threw away the tools that had been given with disgust. So it is quite rare for me to be thanked for my goodwill. In fact, this might even be the first time. Cackle. The witch laughed heartily, but it looked like a sad laugh in Shannon's eyes. She herself had been like that in the past, no, maybe she was like that now. Beatrice was definitely a witch. With strange and terrifying power, most people probably wouldn't want to stick around her if they could help it. Surely, even those who had relied on that strange power sometimes felt fear rather than gratitude as a result. It must have deeply hurt the witch to have that happen over and over. Since the time she had started thinking that way, Shannon had tried to stop being frightened of Beatrice. It was surely something that had tormented the witch for over 1,000 years. Maybe she really liked those sweets. Beatrice, who normally spoke abusively, praised the black tea that Shannon served her and looked to be in remarkably high spirits. After doing that for a while, the witch had the servant grew animated in their discussion of a trip with George. The thing Shannon actually knew about Beatrice was surprisingly few. First off, she was a ghost-like being who appeared in unexpected places at unexpected times. And it seemed that not everyone could perceive that she was there. Apparently, everyone has something called a wavelength, and the ability to perceive witches varies greatly among different people. Only Shannon and Kanung could interact with her enough to exchange words like this. There were a few people who could sense her presence, but most people couldn't even feel that much. From what Beatrice said, Cross and his wife in particular had zero magical talent, and no matter how much she followed them around, they would never notice her. Once earlier, when Shannon messed up and Nutsi got really mad at her, Beatrice had started playing around, hitting Nutsi on the head with her pipe. Oh, is that the source of the headache? I see, Nutsi really doesn't notice a thing. But Shannon, watching that, had burst out laughing without thinking and had gotten scolded even more. Then what about the master? I hear he's been doing research in magic, so I'm sure he'll be able to notice you, Beatrice-sama. Kinzo is the same. He also has a pitiful lack of magical talent. Oh, interesting. It's the blood. He has so little talent that I pity him. As soon as they started talking about Kinzo, it felt like an atmosphere around Beatrice changed. She had spoken about Cross and the rest's lack of magical talent as though she looked down on them, but she spoke of Kinzo in a different way. Anyone connected to the Ushinomiya family will know about Kinzo's legend of the gold. According to that, Kinzo was given the gold after summoning the witch Beatrice. In other words, she must have some kind of relationship with Kinzo. That was because he succeeded despite having not even a scrap of talent. He kept studying by himself like mad and managed to become a magician. Oh, and that's something really incredible, right? Indeed. The witch, who usually looked down on people, was uncharacteristically offering her praise. While she lambasted him by saying he had no talent, she praised his efforts. And then, the master summoned Beatrice somehow with the power of magic. Indeed. Well, I only answered to summons on a whim. After all, in this period where magic has long been denied, here was a man who was without a scrap of talent, yet so desperate to succeed. I thought I'd drop by and poke some fun at him. That's when my luck ran out. Cackle cackle. Her luck ran out? Her choice of words highlighted how much of a disaster this has been for her. Shannon hesitated over whether it would be safe to continue this discussion, but Beatrice continued on her own, ignoring Shannon. After all, his contract did have a proper format instead of rules. Various procedures were mixed up, but, well, in defense to his enthusiasm, I graciously accepted it. Then I gave him a mountain of gold. And then the master used that gold and succeeded in business, and grew his wealth into what it is today. Indeed, his talent in magic was minimal, but it seemed he had a knack for business and gambling. Or perhaps it was due to the bravery and madness that led him to risk everything on unreasonable bets. Madness sometimes acts as magical power. I see, if you look at it that way, perhaps it isn't quite fair to say he was completely lacking magical talent. Cackle. Shannon felt like she was daydreaming. While everyone in the Ushilomia family knew the story of how Kinzo idolized black magic, summoned a witch, and received the gold, in actuality, it was all rambling that no one believed in. And now Shannon was having this story confirmed by the witch herself. She felt a little flustered by this incredible secret that only she knew. Once Kinzo gained his vast fortune, he could realize every dream that can be satisfied by objects obtainable in the human world. In the end, he searched for the truth of the world. The truth of this world? The single element that makes up the world. Kinzo had gained everything one can obtain in the human world. Search for that, the final desire humans seek. The single element. She seemed to remember the witch using that word before. When Beatrice saw Shannon trying to remember what that was, she laughed bitterly, waving her hand, saying there was no need to worry. I underestimated Kinzo just a tad. I truly didn't expect him to display such power. And thanks to that, I'm in this state. I've been sewn in place on this island for several decades now, without even a friend to drink tea with. No matter whom I try to talk to, my voice doesn't reach them. And no matter where I go, I cannot do anything. Such boring decades. As she laughed in self-derision, she tapped her teacup with her finger. It made the light sound of pottery. Shannon didn't know whether the word self-derision was really an accurate expression to describe the look on the witch's face. Shannon didn't understand everything, but she could more or less figure out the situation. And it was probably a topic that she could impress the witch on easily. Not unless the witch started talking about it herself. To sum up everything she had said up until now, Beatrice, who had been summoned by Kinzo's magic, could not leave this island for some reason, and she had lost her power and her form, living her days in boredom. During that time, her words had reached Shannon, who never forgot to show sincere respect for the witch. And Shannon had helped the witch regain her power, if only a little bit. As a result, it was now possible for the witch to drink tea with Shannon like this. Beatrice-sama, what in the world was that mirror you told me to break? Ah, that. Long ago, it seems various things happened on the island around this area. Because of that, malignant forces gathered here and began to join an evil distortion. It seems a traveling Eastern magician or something built a shrine for the repose of souls and sealed them in here. That in itself has nothing to do with me, but unfortunately the magical power rested on a different foundation than mine. It created a strong interference with my magic. It was extremely bothersome. Is that how it was? And I just assumed it existed only to seal you, Beatrice-sama? I was not its target, but it was a divine mirror. As a result, my power was sealed away. To use food as an example, maybe we'll go something like this. Let's say the Western food I ordered is being made in the kitchen. However, when they try to set the table, the area for the guest sitting is in Japanese style with Japanese style dishes. So the kitchen is unable to serve a plate that will be out of place. And no matter how long I wait, my Western food won't arrive, something like that. So you destroyed that Japanese style guest seating and you returned the area to a blank slate for a time. Thanks to that, the meal I had ordered was finally delivered and my power came back, you could say. However, so far only the aperitif has arrived. It will still be quite some time before the main dish. As I am now, I'm even more fragile than the shoe store fairy. Phew, haha. What's so amusing? Nothing, I just thought your metaphor was pretty funny. I never thought of to use a story about food as a metaphor for magic. I thought it's a rather skillful comparison, but I certainly didn't expect it to be laughed at. I'm a bit offended. A slightly sulky expression rose to the witch's face. It wasn't a strange expression at all to be appearing on the face of some friends as they enjoy their tea. Although I may look at it, it was known for doing extremely brutal things in the past. I've gotten soft. And I can even have a foolish discussion while drinking tea with a human. She's probably talking to herself. As Beatrice gazed at the seabirds tracing the horizon, she put her tea to her lips again. The clouds have come out. When the ocean loses its brilliance, it's nothing more than a grey puddle. You think so? I think the ocean is beautifully deep blue, even when it gets cloudy. Maybe the witch noticed the deep meaning behind Shannon's words. She laughed lightly and set down her empty teacup. It seems those things buried in your eyes aren't black pebbles anymore. How is it? Do you see how it feels for furniture to be reborn as a human? Yes. I never knew the world was this kind. Since the start of her relationship with George, Shannon's face had grown brighter more often. Her smile had made everything go smoothly and even changed her fortune. Shannon made less mistakes in her work than she had before, and the family members' opinion of her was slowly starting to change. Just the other day, she had been surprised when Cross, who rarely exchanged words with her, had suddenly started talking to her. You've been wearing a splendid smile more often lately, haven't you? Has something good happened? No, but every day is fun, yes. Wonderful. It goes without saying that coffee is more delicious when poured with a smile. Could I ask for the smile once more? Yes, sir. That became a chance for Shannon to gain confidence in herself. Of course, it didn't go beyond her own heart. It wasn't so big a change that anyone would notice, for she had begun to change bit by bit. Shannon understood it clearly. Knowing love was the same as gaining a soul. The same as being reborn from furniture into a human. There was absolutely nothing mistaken in Beatrice's words. By knowing love, Shannon had learned what it was to be human. These have been unusual snacks. It was time well spent. It's probably about time for you to return to your work, so let us end our tea party now. After all, it seems a certain person doesn't like seeing us drink tea together. Huh? The witch gripped a teaspoon and flipped it with her fingers, setting it up in the air. After that, it was launched by a finger of some invisible person and flew straight into a nearby bush. What? The bush shook violently and Cannon came out. It seemed he had been there for some time watching their tea party. The spoon was gripped in his hand. If he hadn't caught it in an instant, it might have hit him hard in the forehead and caused him to start oozing blood. Damn. Do not worry, our tea party's over now, Canon. How long were you there? If you had called to us, I'd have poured you some tea too. I imagine that you didn't want to interrupt a pair of women talking, right? Cackle, cackle. Kanon kept silent, but there seemed to be a slightly hostile look in his eyes. On the outside, he acted with respect, but unlike Shannon, Kanon did not trust this witch. When Beatrice hit the table with her pipe, the tea set turned into gold butterflies, which flew upwards all at once. They then scattered in every direction and the cleanup was done. It was fine, Shannon. Let us meet again if the chance arises. My magical power is still quite lacking. It's tiring even to show myself. If you're that tired, never appear again. Kano had said it in a small voice, but the witch seemed to have heard it perfectly. She giggled, but did not reply. Shannon, tell me more about George at our next tea party. There are no snacks sweeter than a person's love life. Cackle cackle, see you again. Beatrice's body also became gold butterflies, which scattered in all directions and disappeared. It was a fantastical and beautiful scene, like a blizzard of gold leaf. For a while, Shannon quietly watched the witch exit. Shannon approached her from behind and spoke with an expression that was drastically different from hers. Nesan, didn't I tell you to stay away from her? Beatrice-sama isn't that bad of a person. Yes, she might be a little shady, but the fact that only we can see her is suspicious enough. The thing isn't human. Who knows what she might be planning? Kanon-kun, I think that's a little rude. There was a touch of sternness in Shannon's voice, which was unusual for her. To Kanon, who knew her well, she must have sounded extremely stern. Kanon, looking excessively surprised considering Shannon's tone, fell silent. It's true that Beatrice-sama is different from humans. She has a terrifying power, so I think it's right for us to fear and respect her. Still, I think it's incredibly rude to despise her just because she isn't human. I understand what you're trying to say, Nesan. You've changed ever since she gave you that brooch. It's like you're her prisoner. She brought you and George-sama together and now you're indebted to her. Don't say things like that. That thing isn't human. We don't know what she's thinking, so you mustn't trust her. And we aren't humans either, Nesan. Kanon's words grew more serious. Those words probably gouged at Shannon's heart. She bit her lower lip and hung her head. We're our furniture. Even if we receive names and are treated as humans, that won't change the manner of our birth. You're no longer furniture. Those words Beatrice had given her, which had made her happiest, floated through Shannon's mind. I am not furniture. No, you are furniture. We're less than human. Nesan. You're just pretending to have forgotten, pretending to be human. You know that as well as I do. I am not furniture. I'm human. No, you aren't. I've never possessed what it takes to love or be loved. Kanon's criticism seemed to have shifted away from Shannon's meetings with the witch. Shannon picked up on that quickly. I heard from Milady. Seriously, what were you thinking? I can't believe you got on a trip with George-sama. You've forgotten your place as furniture. You've just been tempted by that witch, mistakenly believing that you become human. Listen, Kanon-kun, it's true that we're furniture, lesser beings inferior to humans, but if it were possible to make up for what we lack, wouldn't that be the same as becoming human? Such a thing could never happen. No, it could. If we can do that, we won't be furniture anymore. We can become human. Ridiculous. As if you could ever do such a thing. Kanon spat those words out, but did so weakly and turned away. He was probably given up. After all this suffering he had undergone, during those days he lived as furniture, his heart was firmly sealed. You can do it too, Kanon-kun. You can become a normal human. Stop it, that's the witch talking. Yes, Beatrice-sama taught me. By obtaining the single element of this world, we can become human. Or rather, nobody's human if you don't have that. That's why people spend their entire lives trying to gain the single element. I don't understand what you're saying, Nesan. I don't want to listen to ranting. And I'll teach you in a way even you can understand. Look, see what I'm pointing at? Shannon quietly pointed at the sea towards the horizon. Kanon didn't understand what she meant, and couldn't do anything except look between the horizon and Shannon's expression, which seemed to be posing a riddle. The sea. Kanon-kun, what color does the sea look to you? Was an extremely simple question. For a while, Kanon tried to guess at the meaning behind it, but she couldn't think of anything, so he answered obediently. It's a hazy, dark gray color. So what? Objectively speaking, the sea laid out beneath a cloudy sky could probably be described the best by Kanon's words. As Shannon closed her eyes and smiled, she shook her head slightly. Looks deep blue to me. Is that what you mean? Like how Japanese people use the word blue to refer to a green traffic light? What? No, the sea is deep blue. If I understand, and you don't. And that's the difference between us. Kanon bit his lower lip and was silent for a while. I don't understand. Kanon-kun, would you stick out your hand? As Kanon was taken aback, unable to understand what she was saying, she took his arm and opened the palm of his hand. Kanon softly said something there. It was that magic brooch, which she had received from Beatrice. A magic charm shaped like a gold butterfly. It could bring love to fruition. This is hers? No, this is mine. So think of it as me. And treat it with respect, okay? After being spoken to like that, he couldn't just throw it away. Kanon didn't know what he would do, what he should do, and he stood there confused for a while, the brooch still on the palm of his hand. Shannon put the palm of her hand on top of Kanon's, and the brooch was warmed by both of their hands. This charm holds true magical power. I'm sure it'll teach you an important emotion, Kanon-kun. There's nothing to be learned from that person's magic. No, there is something. So word. If that's embarrassing, I hear it's okay if you just hide it in your pocket. Ridiculous. And if I let the magic of that person lead me astray. As if. Even as he said that, Kanon couldn't be cold-hearted towards something Shannon was urging him to take. In the end, Kanon took it and agreed reluctantly, saying he'd prove that he wouldn't surrender to the wish's power. Shannon smiled and nodded back. I'm sure you'll be able to learn something important from it. I'm sure you can become human. And when you do, I'm sure this ocean will look like a beautiful blue to you as well, Kanon-kun. Gray is great no matter how many times you look. That's wrong, Kanon-kun. It only looks like that because you have no love? Huh? Because of the howling wind. He hadn't been able to catch the main point of what she just said. So Shannon said it once more. Single element of the world. She spoke once more of the world where it existed, where the sea was deep blue. I'm sure you'll be able to see a deep blue ocean too. After all, without love it cannot be seen. Who is that? It's Kano, master. It was rare for Kinzo to leave his study. However, the fact that didn't mean his noble research had been suspended. He may have left the study because of a change in mood, but that didn't mean the thoughts filling his head, were any different from those he had while inside the study. Kano knew that no matter what the time, speaking to Kinzo when he didn't want to be spoken to would always disturb his research. It's cloudy out there. Will it get worse? Yes, according to the weather report, it could rain at any time. Shall I bring an umbrella? It will not come to that. Leave me alone for a while. If my children ask, say that you do not know where I am. I'm busy on a journey through my own thoughts. Certainly. Then if you could excuse me. Before Kanon finished bowing, Kinzo had already returned to his own world, having forgotten Kanon's presence completely. And once again he began rambling to himself. Amidst those words, the name of a witch popped up many times. Oh, Beatrice, my hand would not reach a smile. What can I do to revive you? What can I do to make you smile at me once more? What is lacking? My research, my materials, my catalyst? Is it magical power, a luck, or an oracle? Oh, Beatrice, what can I do to see your face one more time? Oh. As Kanon listened to his master's weeping voice with his back turned, he turned around just once. When he did, right behind his isolated old master was the shadow of a person who shouldn't have been there. It was the witch. At once, thinking that the witch must be plotting to do Kinzo some harm, Kanon dashed back to Kinzo and tried to form a shield with his body. But when he saw that expression, the expression on Witch's face, the emotion of his vanished. After all, Beatrice's emotion was sorrowful or maybe pitying. You fool, Kinzo. Can't you see me even though I'm here? Right before Kinzo, as he repeated the witch's name over and over, desiring to be reunited with her more than anything else, was the witch herself. And yet, Kinzo didn't notice anything. When Beatrice tried to rest her hand on his shoulder, he didn't notice. Why does my hand not reach Beatrice's smile? Is it the age of the moon? The cycle of the comets? The alignment of the planets? What is lacking? What is? It's useless, Kinzo. Without love, it cannot be seen. Kanon took the brooch he had received from Shannon out of his pocket. By learning something new, would he become able to glimpse something he couldn't see now? Without love, it cannot be seen. He looked at Kinzo's back once more. The witch could no longer be seen there. Okay. So I think episode 2 doesn't do the glass shatter thing. And the title card just now indicates the end of a chapter, and we've done 2 today. Oh, it's the cultural festival or something? Okay. I'm gonna save here. And oh. The absence of any irregularities is thought that she will eventually inherit it. Oh, okay. Okay. We've seen everything. Well, so what do we see today? I'm not sure if we're even on the same timeline. Like supposedly the straightforward way of thinking about this is it is on the same timeline, and this happened maybe like a year or so before the events of episode 1. And the problem with that is, like, here makes it pretty clear that Kanon and Shannon can see Beatrice, and they've had multiple interactions. But during episode 1, when Beatrice is brought up, they don't talk about her with this kind of certainty, I don't think, or maybe she does. It's just that when she talks about it in episode 1, she says stuff in much vaguer terms, like she's heard that Kanon has seen golden butterflies or something like that. But maybe that's not a problem, because maybe she's just saying that because if she said what she knew in earnesty, nobody would believe in her anyways. So if we just accept that, then straightforwardly episode 2 so far is like a year or so flashback from episode 1. Another problem is if we take the difficulty as the difficulty of explaining the events of an episode without magic, then what am I supposed to do with this? Like, so far there's no mystery, and things seem to happen straightforwardly, and it's just there's just a witch. What can I do about that? But I guess if we think about what the witch has done in this episode so far, it's not very much. She says that if Shannon shatters the mirror, she will like grant her a heart or something. But it's not clear that she actually interferes with Shannon and George's relationship in any like external way. It could just be that Shannon breaks the mirror as like proof to herself of her own conviction, and then she takes the step, and then George naturally likes her. So there's no necessary magic involvement there. So I guess there is a world where Beatrice, quote-unquote, exists, and at the same time she isn't actually able to affect the real world in any outlandish way. The only thing we've heard that she's interfered with that does seem like truly undoable without supernatural interference was Kinzo's gold. Like, he had to have found the gold in some way that can't just naturally happen, unlike George's affection for Shannon. Yeah. So much to think about. I feel like I'm still very confused about the game's format, and I'm not sure if I'm just dumb or I'm like supposed to be in this half confused state at this point in the game. But if we take episode 2 as like a flashback from episode 1, we're certainly gaining more information about the story. It would be very funny if in reality throughout all of episode 1 Kano and Shannon could see Beatrice, but they're just not telling anyone because nobody would believe it anyways. And the entire Ushilimian family just hopelessly low magic sensitivity. They're just confused all the time, like, what the fuck is going on? And the witch is right there. What about the people who marry into the family? Or the other servants, I guess. They don't have the Ushilimiya blood. And they don't inherit the hopelessly low magic sensitivity. So how could they also not see? Also, what's up with Maria? Why is she so in tune? And she's not like in tune specifically with Beatrice either, because she has the stuff that can interfere with Beatrice's magic as well. She's just a natural witch. It's like a fledgling witch. Okay. Well, at least so far in episode 2, I don't feel like I'm put in a position where I had to explain or figure out anything yet. I can just watch for some time longer before anything needs solving pops up, and we'll see. And this is it for today. Yeah, see you next time. Bye.